Hello there, people of the internet. Let's go ahead and talk about why standard capacity magazines for your rifles are probably going to be your best options. So, first things first, I will not be showing any magazines that are above, actually I think the biggest I have is a 20 round mag. So YouTube reviewer, I'm sure you're watching, I'm going out of my way to make sure that this video does not violate YouTube community guidelines. So, this right here is a 20 round magazine, although it is pinned in place, so it does have the aesthetics of your 30 round magazine, but it is not. It is 20 rounds, and it is actually lighter weight with that 20 rounds than a 30 round mag. But the point of this video is I was talking with a gentleman, and he was just convinced that 50 round drum magazines were the way to go for his particular AR platform. I can't remember what it was chambered in. We're going to assume 5.56, but I'm not positive about that. But he had a 50 round drum magazine on it, and he said that like that was the way to go as opposed to standard mags, because then you wouldn't have to reload nearly as often. And I like the concept. I like the idea of not having to reload your rifle nearly as often. The big issue with carrying around drums as opposed to something like a far skinnier, far easier to carry magazine like this right here is in the same amount of space, you could carry a lot more ammunition in these than you could in, say, a drum. Not only that, but I'm sure that these are significantly cheaper and lighter weight. They're more compact. They're easier to carry around. Even if we look at something like an AK magazine, again, this is a 20 round magazine for any YouTube reviewer that is watching. If we look at your AK magazine, this right here is still significantly easier to keep on person than something like a drum magazine would be. As a matter of fact, if we look at the history of drum magazines, even as far back as like the Soviet Union with the PPSH rifle or the PPSH submachine guns that they used back in wartime, they actually swapped to using stick mags because, well, on top of the drum mags being very heavy and very cumbersome, they were also significantly less reliable. And yes, drum mags are significantly less reliable than something like a standard box magazine. So you have the options of carrying less amounts of ammunition, like for example, these are 20 round magazines versus something like a standard capacity mag. But just through essentially trial and error, we figured out that your standard capacity 30 round mags offer the best bang for the buck. They are a good size without being too large. You can still go prone pretty gosh darn easily with something like this inside of your rifle. They're not overly heavy, they're not overly cumbersome. As a matter of fact, something like this right here is quite small, quite compact in comparison to a drum magazine. With the ease of being able to carry around something like this right here, I could carry around 10 mags on my person. That's 300 rounds. And in the same amount of space, you would probably struggle to carry, we're going to call it like 4 drum mags. That's going to be, what, 200 rounds? So you would have significantly more ammunition with something like this right here. On top of that, drum magazines are significantly harder to reload. Anyone who's ever tried loading a firearm with a drum magazine, especially one that you're keeping on your person, fastened to you somehow, having one of these inside of a pocket that you can open it up, grab, and insert into your rifle, the reload time on these being significantly less equates to you sending about the same amount of lead downrange as you would with that drum magazine. Anyway, granted, with the drum magazine, you wouldn't have to reload for those 50 rounds, but the speed of being able to reload a 30 round magazine as opposed to that 50 round drum, it evens itself out. Now, this video is more or less opinion based. Of course, other people are going to have the opinion that, hey, I'd rather have a 100 round drum inside of my rifle and not have to touch it. Just bear in mind that those 100 round drums are definitely going to cause you some reliability issues. As a matter of fact, if I grab something like this right here, give me just a second there, fellas. This one is buried. If I grab something like this right here, our standard capacity magazine on this, which is an SKS in 7.62x39, it is 10 rounds. And if we were to throw a 30 round magazine into this thing, which they do exist, the SKS becomes significantly less reliable because it was just designed around this 10-round magazine. It's not designed for the additional spring tensions and whatnot that come with that of your 30-round mag. Your AR, although technically it was designed around a 20-round magazine, your modern ARs are designed around that 30-round magazine along with your modern AKs. And they can withstand the magazine design of 30 rounds pretty gosh darn easily, but whenever you throw a drum or something like that into it, that's when you start to significantly lose reliability. Not only is the platform not really designed for it, but the specifications of something like a drum magazine aren't standard. Unlike something like an actual AR-15 magazine, which basically all of your magazine specifications for those are going to be standard, even if they are steel, aluminum, or polymer. The specs for them have basically all been figured out. Versus something like a drum mag, which a company has to actually kind of try to figure out on their own. And the amount of effort that has been put into figuring out civilian-issue drum magazines clearly is not there, because although one of them might be reliable, as you buy more and more, you're going to find more and more that are not reliable. The likelihood of you getting through a 50-round drum magazine without any malfunctions is quite low. So if you're just going to be clearing malfunctions and spending that time doing that anyway, you may as well just get the standard capacity magazine. So carry more ammunition, less complex, less expensive, all the pros of your standard capacity. Again, 20 rounds, that's what I got right here. I like the fact that they're lighter weight than the 30 rounds. But all the benefits of these right here just dramatically outweigh the drum magazines, like the drum magazine argument, especially if you're going to be dealing with reliability issues. Faster to reload, carry a lot more ammo, more cost effective. They're a really good option. And if you have drum magazines on you, anyone who's actually carried drum magazines on their person, man, they stick out and they catch on things and they're constantly rubbing on your arms, and man, it's not a good time carrying around drum magazines. If you're stationary, like as a sentry inside of some spot, and you have them on like a table or something, then hats off to you. But most of the time, whenever people are rocking a weapons platform like this right here, they're not going to be stationary in one particular spot. They're going to be needing to be able to move around and having the ability to access, quick access 30-round magazines versus having to unfasten a drum magazine that is fastened onto you somehow. It's definitely the better option to go with that standard capacity mag. Anyway, folks, that's just my 2 cents on the subject, and I get the feeling that this video is going to upset some people, because there's people out there that just absolutely wholeheartedly love the drum magazine concept. So hats off to you. Go ahead and go for it. I think that the standard capacity mag is the best. There's a reason why it is standard. It's the best bang for the buck. It's not large enough to get in the way, but it's not small enough to where you have to consistently reload the thing. So thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. I'll see you on the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett.
shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.